everybody, welcome back. We're headed off north side of the highway, 32 acres of wheat. We're putting 28 out on. Changing things up a little bit since we're late. The wheat's already got heads on it. It's pretty far into the head stage. It's not flowering yet, but we are into the head stage. We are cutting back the 28 from 15 gallons to 8 gallons, topping off with water back up to that 15-gallon rate so we can do everything the same as usual. And then with these fields, we are putting out 3/4 of a pint of boron with the 28. Once we get back here and change all these hoses out, like you saw, we blew a line spray in the other day. Once we change those hoses out, sometime this weekend, we're going to go back out and do a foliar run on that same 32 acres because it also called for manganese, zinc, copper. Yeah, that's it. And so we'll run that as a foliar with a gallon of 318-18 and then a pint of sugar. So we'll have to come back and do the foliar just so this 28, it's got to go down into the root zone and then come back up through the plant, through the roots. With a foliar, you're putting it directly into the plant, so it's going to make more sense. Get it in there faster and get it working faster to just run a foliar pass within the next 48 hours-ish. So that's what we're going to do. I'm headed out now. It's not late yet, but it's been overcast. It's been like 55 degrees all day, so we should be sitting pretty well as far as conditions go for streaming. And I don't want to finish these fields in the dark. The next one or the last one is square 70 acres, so I can do that one in the dark. So that's just worst case scenario in case something goes wrong. Otherwise, we'll be done in the daylight still. So I'm headed out and see how this goes. Well, this is actually a first for me as far as this 28 streaming goes. I ran short. Usually I set my rate controller 1 gallon lower than what I'm actually putting out because usually the sprayer over applies 28, but it applies water perfectly. It's one of those things, 28's heavier than water, therefore it flows different and all that. So usually with wheat, I just bump it down a gallon and it usually comes out right. Well, since I cut it 50-50 pretty much with water, I didn't do that, but apparently I needed to still do that because I ran short. I'm about a half acre short here. So Dad is hooking the tender up and gonna bring me some like 50 gallons of 28, 50 gallons of water, and we'll finish this little bit up and then head home. So I was just kind of walking through all my sprayer tracks, making sure everything looks good. I'm not seeing any disease pressure on our flag leaves or anything like that. We got a little bit of grass in some spots, but nothing to be super scared about. A little bit of headland here. It's a little bit thinner, but I think we have good wheat.
Your summer, the better. Because the more you buy, the more you save. But hurry, it all starts Thursday at Macy's. Savings on already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
The perfect time to upgrade your carpet is right now. Get free carpet installation with the purchase of Home Decorators Collection Special Order Carpet. Give your floors a new, softer feel from timeless and trendy options with the performance to support everyday life.
This wheat looks absolutely gorgeous.
May 15th through June 1st, 2025.
We got the wheat streamed last night. Now you can see behind me, we power washed the sprayer off today, and now I'm working on taking hoses off. I've got the long one off. This is the one that's hard to measure on the sprayer, so we're going to give this one a measure, multiply it by 2 because we got another one on the other side, and then we can measure the rest of them without taking them off. And I will go and get them today at some point. I got a hay person coming to pick hay up here shortly, and then we'll run, get hose, and then we can just spend the rest of the day putting hose back on. Hopefully we're going to be foliaring the wheat tomorrow, the wheat on the other side of the highway. And I think I'm just going to throw the fungicide and everything in with it and just get it all done in one shot because I don't really want to go back over there again. So I got to talk to my guy, make sure Mirvis Ace will cover the rest of the season, which I think it will. We aren't very far from being timed to fungicide anyway, so it's not like I'm asking a lot of it. But anyway, that's what I'm up to right now. Everything's all measured up. I need 120 feet of this 1 inch, what do you call it, EDMP or EMDP. It took a couple hours. We got all the new hoses on. I need to shorten these ones up. I just now folded the tips out. These are a little low, so we got to shorten them up a couple inches, get that loop pulled up. And same on the other end. Well, the other end's not as bad. We might not have to do anything with that end. Have 80 extra feet of hose because you got to buy it in 100-foot rolls, and we needed 120. Yeah, this one's not as bad. We can do with that, but the other side definitely I've got too much on. So we'll get all that buttoned up in the morning. It's able to fold up, which is all I needed to do overnight. So we'll get it, get those hoses buttoned in the morning, and then put our hollow cone nozzles on, run them through a test cycle and see what they look like, because we'll go out and foliar tomorrow night. I've already been at work for a bit this morning. I got this hose shortened up. I already went through and drained the 28 out of the sprayer that was left over from the wheat, and went ahead and put our hollow cone tips on. So now that that's all done, we can first of all put that bundle of hose away, and then we will pull it over on the rack and put 100 or 200 or so gallons in it and run it through and see what everything looks like. I'll run a self-test on the rate controller, kind of figure out what speed it thinks we need to run at and all that fun stuff. All right, so I've got 9 mile an hour programmed in. We're fluctuating a little bit on rate, so we might have to adjust a little bit, but we're running just a hair under 80 PSI. Yeah, we've got a nice mist back there. That's gonna be really good for foliar. You can see we're a little breezy at the moment because it does not take much to push that pattern out of the way. So yeah, but yeah, we're gonna have a good trip, I think. So everything's working. We're completely shut on the reload, and we're half shut on the agitation to get to that pressure. It may be different once we're in the field. We'll see. It's fluctuating up a little bit, so if we program to 10 mile an hour, I don't see a change in pressure, but my rate's fluctuating downwards now. So we're going to be somewhere between 9 and 10 mile an hour, it looks like. But yeah, that's cool. So now that that's ready to go, we're just dumping the water out that we had in it. We're going to pull that up out of the way somewhere because I need to have that mix pad still. My plan is to mix my concentrate all up in a tote, and then we will pump it out of that into the sprayer and then add our carrier, our water. Because with the low volume, we're only going to run 8 gallons per acre. With the low volume and the high amount of different things we're putting in at 8 gallons per acre, we are putting in 1 gallon per acre of that little tote, 2 gallons per acre of this big tote. Whatever micros it calls for, which it called for every single one basically. And then we are running Miravis Ace, which is our fungicide. So that is a low use rate though. That's 13.6 ounces to the acre. But everything else, with the amount of stuff we have to do, we're just going to mix it all up in a tote, and then we'll pump like 100 or 2 gallons of water in the sprayer and then suck the contents of that tote into the sprayer and then switch back to water and top off. I think that'll be the best way to do this instead of trying to run everything through that inductor. Now, there's obviously a lot of time between now and tonight. You don't want to do this in the heat of the day. It's got to be less than 78 or 80 degrees or something like that when you foliar. So we want to wait until this evening when the temperatures have a gradual drop and we go into the night, and then we will get to foliaring. So while we wait for that, we're going to go out and mow some hay. Mowing went really well. We got that 15 acres of alfalfa knocked down. It's 12:30, so I'm taking a quick break, grabbing lunch. This was in the shops. A 32 ounce a quart or a half gallon. I can't remember. Bought that at our local Blaine's the other day when we were there because I have a 64 ounce that is kind of herbicide contaminated now, so I bought a smaller one, a 32 ounce, for stuff like surfactant and that sort of thing, so that I don't have to clean that one out and I can do precise measuring when it comes to that. But anyway, yeah, gonna go grab lunch and then we'll jump back in. Checked all my knives because that field is an absolute horrible field when it comes to rocks, and I hit a few. But the awesome thing about that mower is, and it's probably the same with all disc binds, is you can keep going at hose clamp. You can keep going. It doesn't seem to hurt your knives a lot. I still had a pretty good cut at the end, and I checked my knives. A couple of them are pretty dinged up, but for the most part, they're still sharp. And for grass, which is what we're moving to next, it's not going to be an issue. Alfalfa cuts harder anyway. That's our only field of heavy alfalfa. So we should be all right from here on out. But if I was to mow that with the haybine, last time I mowed it with the haybine, I think I had to stop 6 to 8, maybe even 10 times and replace sickle sections because I was bending them, I was breaking them, everything, hitting rocks. I had my shoes down just about as far as they could go, so I was cutting as high as I could, and I was still hitting stuff. It was a mess, but it seems to be quite a difference with that mower, because I never had to get out of the cab once, that entire 15 acres. Just like that, 2-acre field is done. Little L back here behind the southern runoff lagoon. There's some grass in there that I could try and mow, but I don't know if there's anything in there right now, so I don't really want to risk breaking this. So we'll just call it good there. Get the tedder hooked up and ready, because we'll have to ted this either tonight or tomorrow morning right away. And then we'll be all set. I do got to put this radiator screen back on. The hook broke off the end of the spring, so we just take needle nose, bend that over, make a new hook. Almost ran it over, but I didn't. I saw it pop off out of the corner of my eye and hit that tire and hit the ground, and I slammed on the brake and clutch right there, and she was just about under that front back wheel. But we managed to not run it over, because those little things are expensive, believe it or not. Screen's on the 44 now. We're just going to leave this sitting here in the dooryard for now. I was out looking to see if I could squeeze it in the lean-to somewhere, and there's a few things I don't want to block in because we're pulling the seed tender and planter out tomorrow and going and doing that bean field. So we're going to just leave that there for now. Once we get the transmission for this 4-wheel drive out of there, we'll put that back on, and then pull either... We'll probably leave the old haybine in there for now. I don't know. We'll see if Dad wants to sell it or not. And then there's some pallets of wood pellets that we'll move over to that barn once we get that barn cleaned out. Tedding's all done. I was walking by this and noticed this earlier. We are quickly turning this 466 into a naturally aspirated model instead of using the turbo, so we're going to get that buttoned up. I think I have some clamps that will work. I don't know where the clamps went that were on it, but we just got to get it shoved back together and put 2 clamps on it, and it'll be all set. It has gotten extremely breezy because the isolated showers, I'm guessing. The weather kind of just turned to who knows what's going to happen here. So, but it's really breezy, so we're going to put off that foliar pass until tomorrow night. We'll see if we can do it then. Yeah, tomorrow's Saturday, so we'll try and get it done tomorrow night. There's a chance that that little field will bail tomorrow night, but probably not. We'll probably bail it Sunday. And then that big field is heavier alfalfa, so that one will probably wait until Monday or maybe even Tuesday, depending on how wet it gets tonight. Oh. The thin ones tend to do that. They seem to have, I don't know if this is an older block, they had smaller rebar on some of these, and over time they tend to break, especially when this one was used for fertilizer storage, so highly corrosive material. Over time it's bound to happen. But you can see the difference in size between that rebar and that rebar. At some point they made a change. But anyway, what we're working on is this used to be fertilizer storage. I don't know if I've ever shown it on video, but we used to get dry fertilizer, nitrogen. We used to run a blend, a third ESN, a third urea, and a third AMS. And this is where we'd pile it. We'd get anywhere between 10 and 15 ton every year for our corn. But last year we switched to UAN, which is liquid. And so that's what we have, tanks behind the barn. You guys have seen that. And so we don't need to store fertilizer in here anymore. Therefore, we don't need the blocks. We're pulling them out before we put hay in here and bury them again. And then I don't know if it's going to happen this year or not, but where you got to sheet this back wall at some point and keep the north weather from getting in and spoiling hay. We still get them. That one will go over by the shop. I see there's two other ones over there that have broken rebar. We'll get some new bar and beef them up a little bit, and then they'll be ready to go. We've still got, I think, 70 or almost 100 of those blocks yet. I think we're going to sell yet another, I don't know, 75 of them. Probably keep 25 stacked up somewhere in case we need them for a little bunker or something like that. I don't know. I've got the wheat foliar cocktail mixed up here. It's 125 gallons total for 32 acres. So quite a heavy dose of stuff here. But it is too breezy today to spray. So hopefully tomorrow morning, I got to check my hourly, come up with a game plan. But That means we may end up pushing the planting off until tomorrow too of that last field of beans, because I have to spray this foliar before I can switch back to burn down and run that burn down. But we can run it after we plant if need be. But I'd rather plant into spraying tracts than track over planting tracts. That's just the way I look at it. But I'll give you guys a rundown of what's in this. We started with 2 gallons to the acre of 318/18, so that's 64 gallons. And then we have 1 gallon per acre of Feast XL, which is the foliar nitrogen. That's 32 gallons, so that brought us up to about 100 gallons. And then we have a pint per acre of Syntos, which is sugar. Pretty much goes in every foliar load. And then we have a 0.75 pints of boron, because we put the first half on with the last round of 28, so we're putting the second half on now. Copper, we got 1.4 pints to the acre. Manganese, we got 1.4 pints to the acre. And zinc, we have 2.19 pints to the acre. All adding up to 125 gallons. So that's all foliar fertilizer. We're going to let that set. We're going to set it over here on the other side of the Liberty tote. I didn't put any fungicide in it, didn't put any insecticide in it. We're going to put that in when we put it in the sprayer so that there's no issues with it sitting. I don't know how that's going to look, but we have Miravis Ace Syngenta fungicide, and then we have Kendo insecticide, and I have about a half gallon of Warrior yet, which is Syngenta's fungicide. They're both the same. This one's just like half the price, I think. So that one, I think the Warrior will end up being in this one, because I think it'll take about that half a gallon to run it all. It runs at 1.6 ounces to the acre, or I think 2 on corn, 1.6 on wheat. And then the fungicide is 13.6 ounces to the acre. All right, so I think I got until about 1 o'clock, and then me and my boss have to go out and do some drone jobs. So I'm gonna pull the planter out, get it, check and see. Dad was gonna switch the meters to beans yesterday. I don't know if he did. Do that, load with seed, load with 2x2, top off the end furrow to get through, and then it'll be sitting ready when I get back tonight or later this afternoon. We'll head out with that, plant that field, and then tomorrow night we'll spray foliar, spray the burn down, or Monday morning, either one. Monday's supposed to be nice. I haven't checked yet, but spray the foliar, spray the burn down, get all that done. And then I just found out I got some custom corn spray to do, so we'll do that on Monday, following any beans that I have to spray, because I've probably got 58 acres, I would guess, of beans that need to be sprayed. We've got a couple things to address. One is this tire's flat, which I brought it when we vacuumed the planter out. I aired this tire up because it was flat then, and sat there and listened to it and couldn't find a leak, and now it's been what, a week, 10 days since then, and it's completely flat again. So somehow that tire's leaking without any obvious leaks to it. So we'll have to pull that off when we're done. We'll air it up again before we go to the field. But next thing was this row. Hose had popped off and plugged the furrow jet, so the furrow jet's laying over there on those cages. We're going to pop new manifold into that one, which I think is in here. No, it's not. I'm going to have to track that down. And then, hasn't been switched to beans yet, so we'll switch it over to beans. And then we have to mix up a batch of 2x2 for this. And then we have enough in-furrow over there in a tote to top this off to 70, 75 gallons is where we want to be. But we may have to dump some micros in there. I think the field calls for manganese, and I don't know if there's manganese in that mix that we had over there. So, and then other than that, changing closing wheel pressures, going to the 3rd notch, changing our depth because we were playing corn, going a half step up, so shallowing up, and then that's about it. Dad checked the 14 acres of beans that we have to plant, and they're still too wet, so I think the plan is to burn them down tomorrow and then till it on Tuesday morning and then plant Tuesday afternoon right before the rain, and hopefully that'll be good. We're gonna up our population, all that fun stuff, and get it so that we got the best chance possible. But so far this morning, waiting till 1 o'clock, been working on this hay barn. Because we start from this end and work our way down filling, I relocated all the pallets down to that end, and then we'll have to get this truck pulled out here shortly. But got a couple. This is best for square bales, so I left it down here. That pallet is pretty well toast, so we're gonna get rid of that. I cleaned up this area. There's a bunch of pallets and stuff. That fencing was taken down, and just organized stuff. We're done with the fuel tank for now. Seed's gonna be coming back, so that's up towards the front. Once we get a calm day, we'll burn these seed bags, and I'm gonna move the generator and wheelbarrow back here. Hay will start being stacked at about that post, so we'll move that weed whip out of the way and get this truck ready to come out. It's gonna be a little tricky because this is the truck that I stole a steering column out of for my truck, so no steering, but we'll get it taken care of and out, and hopefully without a problem. I got the truck moved out and a rough clean out done. We'll have to sweep up some of these spots where there's fertilizer sitting because we don't really want that getting up in the hay. So we'll sweep those areas when we're gonna start putting hay in here, because it'll end up just blowing back in if we don't. So truck is over there right now. I gotta figure out where we're gonna put it or what we're gonna do with it. Start watching YouTube videos on how to pull the engine and transmission out of it and see how big of a process that is. But yeah, I think that's it for now. We'll return to this project Monday. We might be able to burn these seed bags. We'll see. Yeah, but other than that, that seed will go here hopefully next week. We'll get a little more room in here. So, yep, from that post basically all the way to the end of the barn is going to be full of either hay or straw. And then we got this little area here for lawnmower. My Jeep usually comes in here. If we need to stuff something in here, we got room. So I think I'm going to wrap this video up here, guys. We'll start a new one if there's anything going on tomorrow with the foliar and stuff like that. I've ran you guys through a long time this week, covered a lot of different things, so hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a thumbs up if you did, if you liked it, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you next time.